I never believed in curses. Not until we were deployed to Sector Echo, deep in the hills near Fairburn, Georgia, a place the locals just called the Screaming Hills. I was Private First Class Luke Harrow, and I had barely been in the Army a year when I got assigned to a recon unit for a training operation that never made the news. We were told it was routine. Just 2 weeks of simulated patrols, night exercises, basic field readiness. But within the first day, something felt wrong. We set up base at an abandoned ranger station tucked in a fog-choked ravine. Sergeant Kilroy, our squad leader, joked that it looked like something out of a horror movie. He wasn't wrong. The place had boarded windows, moss crawling up the walls, and a stale, coppery scent in the air, like old blood. There were 6 of us: Kilroy, me, Corporal Jensen, Private Dorn, Specialist Ayers, and the new guy, Thomas. He barely spoke and kept clutching a rosary he wore around his neck. That first night we heard it. It started as a low hum, just after 0300. At first, I thought it was radio static, but it grew louder, and then I realized it wasn't coming from any of our gear. It was coming from outside. A sound like hundreds of voices moaning in unison, rising into a wail that seemed to rattle the bones. We all stood frozen, rifles drawn. Kilroy went to the door, pulled it open, and stared out into the fog. "There's someone out there," he said, screaming. We searched for hours. Nothing. No tracks, no movement, just that damn fog and the occasional echo that made your skin crawl. The next morning, Ayers swore he saw someone standing between the trees at dawn. Said it was a man in uniform, but his eyes were pitch black and his jaw was too wide. We laughed it off until we found Ayers' boots at the edge of the forest. The boots with his feet still in them. After that, we didn't laugh anymore. Command cut off comms. Interference, they claimed. Drones stopped working. GPS glitched out. Jensen tried hiking out with the emergency beacon, but came back 3 hours later, shaken and muttering about hearing his dead mother calling his name. "Something's hunting us," Thomas whispered that night. "It mimics the voices of people we've lost." Dorn snapped, locked himself in the old tool shed with his M4 and didn't respond. We heard him sobbing for hours, then silence. When we opened the shed, all we found was his rifle and a pool of blood that hadn't soaked into the dirt. It just sat there, thick, unmoving. Kilroy wanted to hold out. "They'll send someone," he insisted. But by then, none of us believed rescue was coming. The final straw was the cave. We found it behind the station on the 5th day. A narrow opening, hidden behind thick underbrush. There were bones outside, not animal. Too many ribs, some with tags still hanging on them. We should have left it alone, but Kilroy said we needed to investigate. "This is what's messing with us," he said. "We end it here." We went in with flashlights and sidearms. It wasn't deep, but the deeper we went, the colder it got. The air stank like rot, and something worse, like burning teeth. Then we heard the screams again, louder, closer. The walls trembled, the lights flickered, and one by one they went out. That's when I saw it. A face, white as bone, eyes like burned out coals, mouth stretching open in a silent howl. It lunged from the darkness, and I ran. I don't remember how I got out, just that I woke up outside, alone, the others gone. Only Thomas was waiting, or what was left of him. He looked at me and said in my voice, "You should have stayed in the light." Then he vanished. That was 7 days ago. I'm the last one left, and I think the hills are hungry. I tried to leave. I swear I did. The morning after I saw Thomas, or whatever wore his skin, I packed what I could and started hiking west. The map was useless. The compass spun like it was drunk, and every time I thought I was making progress, I ended up back at the ranger station. Always back. I walked in a straight line for what felt like hours, but the sun never moved. Just hung there, a pale white disk like an eye watching me. By the 3rd loop, I stopped pretending it was real. Something out here was toying with me. On the 4th day, I found Kilroy. He was kneeling in a creek, motionless, water rushing past his legs. His eyes were open, lips moving like he was whispering something, but no sound came out. I stepped closer and called his name. He turned. His face was wrong. Bloated, veins pulsing under the skin like something was crawling beneath. His jaw unhinged too wide, and he screamed. Not a sound, not a voice, but a blast of pressure that knocked me back into the rocks. I blacked out. When I came to, he was gone. But the trees around the creek had all bent inward toward where he had been, like they'd been listening. I started marking trees with my knife, slashes to keep track of where I'd been. But the marks never stayed. I'd cut one, move 10 paces, then find the same tree again, untouched. Over and over. The ranger station started changing too. Every time I returned, something was different. The stairs rotted faster. The windows breathed. One night, I found a photograph on my cot. Me, in uniform, standing in front of a burned-down house I'd never seen. The back had a date, March 22nd, 2009. I was 11 years old. I burned the photo. The next day, it was back. Only now, I was missing from it. I started hearing the voices at night, not just screaming, whispers now. People I knew, my brother, who died in Afghanistan, my grandmother, Jensen, even Dorn, they'd say my name soft like a lullaby, asking me to come outside. I stopped sleeping. The worst was the man with the sack. It began with footsteps around the cabin, slow, dragging steps. Then came the knock, just one, always at 2:59 a.m. The first time I looked out, I saw him. Tall, too tall, wearing tattered fatigues and a burlap sack over his head, tied with what looked like barbed wire. His boots left no prints. He didn't speak. He just stood there with his head tilted slightly to the side. The second night, he was closer. The third, he was inside. I found boot prints on the wood floor leading to my cot, then stopping. Nowhere else. Just there. Like he stood over me while I slept, or pretended to. I set traps, nails, wire, even rigged a flare mine at the front door. Nothing worked. The voices started saying his name. The Watcher, they called him. The one who waits. Then came the scratching. From under the floorboards. That night, I pried them up. There was a tunnel. No dirt, just darkness going straight down. A smell hit me, sweet and wet like meat left in the sun. I dropped a flare. It fell and fell and fell. No sound when it hit bottom, just more screaming. Something was down there, clawing, crawling, and whispering my name. I boarded it back up and ran. I spent the next 2 days circling the hills. The fog grew thicker. The trees leaned in. I stopped seeing animals. Not even birds. The air got heavy, like the world was holding its breath. Then I saw lights through the fog, campfires, people. I ran toward them, tears streaming down my face, screaming for help. They were soldiers, but old like from a different war. World War II helmets, faded patches, rusted rifles, and they didn't move. They just stood there, staring into the flames, frozen in time. One of them turned to me, his face rotted to bone, and said, "You're late. We've been waiting." Then everything went dark. I woke up in the ranger station again. Only now the walls were covered in names, carved deep into the wood. Thousands of names. Mine was the last, fresh, still bleeding. I don't know how long I've been here. Time doesn't work the same in the Screaming Hills. The sun doesn't rise. The nights stretch endlessly. Sleep brings no rest, only dreams that bleed into reality. And every time I blink, the ranger station decays a little more. The walls pulse like they're breathing. The floor moans beneath my boots. I'm not sure it's wood anymore. I've stopped eating. I don't feel hunger, just a constant pressure in my chest, like something pushing in from all sides. I tried to kill myself. I put my service pistol to my temple and pulled the trigger. Click. No matter how many times I tried, the gun wouldn't fire. I took it apart, reloaded it, even tested it against the wall. It worked until I aimed it at myself. Then nothing. Like the place wouldn't let me leave. Not even that way. The Watcher comes every night now. He stands at the edge of the fog, sack still tied tight, fingers twitching like he's trying to remember how to move. Some nights I see him in the window, his head cocked to one side, like he's studying me. Other nights I hear his voice in my head. He doesn't scream. He whispers. "Your name was the last," he says, "but not the final." That's when I realized someone else will come here. Another unit, another patrol. This place calls to people. It feeds on them. I'm just one in a long, endless chain. The names on the wall change. Every day, new ones appear. American names, soldiers, men and women who never made it back. The official records say they went missing during training or died in non-combat incidents. But I know where they really went. They came here. And this place swallowed them. 2 nights ago, I found the radio working again. The static cleared for just a moment, and I heard a voice. "Recon Delta 2, respond. preparing to insert replacements. Do you copy?" I screamed into the mic, begged them not to come, told them it was a trap, but the voice just said, "Transmission acknowledged, deployment in 48 hours. Then silence. Now I'm not trying to escape. Now I'm trying to stop them from coming. I've set traps along the trail, written warnings in blood and charcoal on trees, on rocks, on the ground. But I know it won't work. The hills choose who they want. And once they choose, there's no way out. Last night I saw Ayers again. Or what's left of him. He stepped out of the trees and sat across from me, face sunken, eyes hollow. "You still think you're alive?" he asked. I didn't answer, because deep down I wasn't sure anymore. I haven't bled in days. My wounds don't heal, but they don't fester either. My breath doesn't fog in the cold. My reflection in the broken glass shows someone I don't recognize. Then today, the station door opened, and I saw them. New boots, 6 soldiers, fresh faces, laughing, joking, just like we had been. They looked straight at me and didn't see me, walked right past me into the station, like I wasn't there, like I never was. I screamed, threw things, pounded on the walls. They didn't hear me. I ran out into the woods trying to lead them away, but they stayed. And now it's happening again. The voices have returned, the screaming has begun, and in the distance, through the trees, I see him, the Watcher, standing tall, waiting for the next name, the next soldier, the next scream. You won't find any records of this place, but if you ever hear your orders include Fairburn, Georgia, turn around, tear up the orders, run. Because once you enter the Screaming Hills, you never leave. Not really, you just become part of the echo.